list of information he relayed to me in a series of 5 meetings in the latter half of 2013. He joined the military when he was 17 straight from school and initially trained as a para. He was stationed at Hereford and they were asked if they wanted to volunteer for something different. 11 volunteers were picked out. It was a Special Forces Black Ops group under command of NATO in which the Yanks were in charge. Other countries' governments were aware of the operations, but most do not have the technology to deal with it, therefore allowed the Americans to get on with it under the umbrella of NATO. This includes the Russians. Whilst on an operation near the Russian border, a UFO came out of a cavern system and nearly took their heads off, upon which they opened fire. Opening fire would not usually affect a UFO. He thought that there would definitely be another group carrying out these operations today. The operation in Brecon Beacon, where the 2 bodies were discovered, was on Talibant Mountain. The military have secret systems based on a laser that can bring down UFOs. There are 8 around the world that he knew of, 2 in the UK, 1 in Germany and a few in the US. It disables or interferes with the propulsion of the UFO and causes them to come down. The military had an idea roughly as to where and when the UFOs were appearing and would send their team out in advance of firing this weapon. Once the evidence is secured, another totally separate team would come to the site. This could take days. They referred to that team as the collectors, who were always American. They would leave with the evidence and would just leave the find and secure team to fend for themselves. He is still in touch with some of the soldiers from his team, 2 of whom have now died. He has seen hundreds of UFOs, some landed and some in the sky. There was a variety of different shapes. They were not flying saucer shaped, some triangular, others square or rectangular, not aerodynamic shapes. They ranged in size from the size of a car to 3 times the size of an articulated lorry. The surfaces were smooth and some had overlapping tiles. They usually had lights on them of varying colours and configurations. One craft gave off a light like an arc welder and caused damage to their eyes, and he had to be admitted to hospital after that incident. Another craft which they got close to looked metallic, but when pushed by hand gave way, having some kind of elastic property which returned to the original shape after applying a force. He said he thought that because some of the craft were so small, there must be bigger mother-type ships which these craft had come from. I suggested that UFOs might use reservoirs as hiding places, and he said no, they don't go in reservoirs, although when asked where they do go, it seemed he wasn't sure. He said they just appear. He did not know where they were originating from, but stated they are here, meaning they are in our atmosphere regularly. He said they can just appear, and when asked about cloaking, confirmed that he thought they had those kind of abilities, and also incredible dynamics. He said they can come down to the ground very quick. The first operation he was involved with was in northern Scotland, and the largest recovery of bodies was in Australia, a case where 24 bodies had been left. Injuries are the same as animal mutilation type injuries. He said that internal organs would be removed and also brains. He seemed to think that anything connected with the nervous system is what they would take. He did not see a lot of blood on the corpses. They usually choose remote, out-of-the-way places to carry out human mutilations. They knew where to go and where to take from, where the people would not be missed for a long time. Bodies included people and children. He has multiple sclerosis and is on crutches. He has various scars, one of which he showed me on his right arm just below the elbow. He has 3 pins in his hip, he had work done on his shoulder and has had a knee replacement. His friends who were in the unit have had brain tumours and cancers. 2 are now dead. He said that he hasn't had cancer and then said, touch wood, indicating he is worried about it. I asked if he communicated with any of the ETs he claimed to have seen. He replied no. He said they were incredibly quick. They could move 60 metres in a split second. He said they are not friendly and you would not approach one. He saw 2 of them wearing what looked like wetsuit or a flight suit. He said you could not approach them on your own. You needed cover because they were so quick. He said he witnessed 3 distinct types of ETs on these missions. He stated that in 4 or 5 of these cases there were craft debris and they were able to see what had been on board the craft. This included human and animal body parts. He claimed there is a UFO tracking facility in the military land at Sennybridge. It is stored under the ground and comes up at night. It consists of a large aerial, quite wide, about 50 to 60 metres high. It can be seen from the public road at night above the trees. There is also a radar dish that rotates, and it too only comes up at night. It is about the size of a car. The aerial is used somehow to track the UFOs. He believes there are more facilities like this elsewhere in the world. I showed him an image on my camera of where I thought the tracking system was located based on information from Derek Goff, and I did not have it quite right. It is actually behind the trees further back in this image I showed him. This site is very well monitored by CCTV. He said that a rabbit couldn't even get in there without being picked up. There is a public road where the facility can be seen, but he warned me, do not go along the road that goes to the facility at night under any circumstances, implying that would be very dangerous. He claims the underground facility there goes down 10 levels. He left the forces in 1999, but still has contact with the base. He said he thought this issue was being covered up in order to keep control of society. He mentioned religion and how that might be affected. He also mocked much of the information that exists in the UFO field, stating that much of it is put out to confuse and mislead the public. He said he felt the problem might be getting bigger and also that it could not be kept secret forever. He thought the information might at some point come out officially. After the meetings with the military source, I continued to request further meetings with him to try and obtain the photographs, but neither further meetings nor photographs were forthcoming. It was clear he had gone cold on me. Skeptics will undoubtedly now say, how do we know the military source was telling the truth? This, of course, is a valid point, but if one looks at the surrounding circumstantial evidence, such as the attempts to silence and discredit Derek Goff, the fact that after 16 years of silence the military source repeated exactly the same story to me, his initial reaction when I contacted him, the fear he had of being recorded, his injuries, his knowledge of military groups and operations, and his access to photographs of mutilated bodies, all these point to the story, incredible though it is,